Hi, third graders. Good morning and happy Tuesday. I hope you enjoyed your long weekend. The weather was absolutely beautiful outside. We couldn't have been luckier. I also hope that you reflected on Memorial Day yesterday, that yes, we had a day off, but why? And kind of reflected on that a little bit and remembered what Memorial Day is all about. Okay, so before we get started on reading, we're going to go ahead and look at our daily assignments as usual, and then I'll get to the BFG. So this morning we are having our normal office hours at 10 o'clock, and we are going to be practicing our Reader's Theater, so come prepared for that. I changed the day from Wednesday for Reader's Theater to Thursday because I think that Mrs. Booth may be able to make Thursday, and we put a lot of work into this. I know you're all excited, so I think it would be great if she were there, okay? So this morning for grammar, you're doing something a little different. You are going to be choosing the best title. So for some paragraphs that I have for you, it's actually going to look like this. I have it right here. So you're going to read each of these paragraphs. And for paragraphs 1 and 2, you're going to choose which title you think's the best based off of the paragraph. And then for paragraphs 3, 4, and 5, you are going to create your own title. So you're going to read the paragraph and create the title that you think would be a great title for this. And I want you to try and be a little bit creative. So let's say there was a paragraph that you read on Neil Armstrong. Come up with something besides just Neil Armstrong. Can you come up with something that's really going to grab the reader's attention? Okay, so that is your grammar. Reading, we're reading chapter 16 and doing slides 20 and 21 today. Tomorrow we'll do book club since tomorrow's already Wednesday. Today for writing, your new topic is the best invention. So you're going to brainstorm all of your thoughts and ideas on all the great inventions that we have and pick a few that you think are the best. Once you brainstorm those, as usual, you're going to put a star next to the idea that you think, the invention that you think is the best. And then tomorrow and Thursday, you're going to be researching your topic. So you'll spend some time learning more about the invention that you chose and why it's so great. So some ideas that I put here for you to keep in mind, because there's so many inventions. Which do you think have made a really big impact on the world? What are inventions that help you? What are inventions that you use every day? So keep that in mind as you're brainstorming. Today we are continuing to work on time intervals, but we are doing this with word problems. So you're going to have some word problems with either starting times or ending times, and you have to figure out what the ending time was, or they gave you a starting time and they gave you an ending time, and you need to figure out the time interval. So you're going to use your different strategies that we have learned to figure those out. And then social studies today, we are starting a new slideshow for Burlingame history, going back to social studies from science. So this time, still focusing on Burlingame history, but we are going to be talking about why it's called the City of Trees and all these eucalyptus trees that we see everywhere in the role that they play. Then I have your art there. And that is it for the day today. So on that note, let's go ahead and get started on the BFG. And we are on the chapter called Mixing the Dream, because where we left off was when Sophie and the BFG decided that they were going to mix a dream to give to the queen so that the queen could learn about these horrible giants who are eating all the children. So hopefully that stops. So we'll see what dream they come up with and how they mix it, okay? It was dark now. The night had already begun. The BFG, with Sophie sitting on his hand, hurried into the cave and put on those brilliant blinding lights that seemed to come from nowhere. He placed Sophie on the table. "Stay there, please," he said, "and no chittering. I is needing to listen on, only to silence when I is mixing up such a naughty, plexicated dream as this." He hurried away from her. He got in an enormous empty glass jar that was the size of a washing machine. He clutched it to his chest and hurried towards the shelves on which stood the thousands and thousands of smaller jars containing the captured dreams. Dreams about giants, he muttered to himself as he searched the labels. The giants as guzzling human beings? No, not that one, nor that one. Here's one, and here's another. He grabbed the jars and unscrewed the tops. He tipped the dreams into the enormous jar he was clutching, and as each one went in, Sophie caught a glimpse of a small sea green blob tumbling from one jar into the other. The BFG hurried towards another shelf. Now, he muttered, eyes wanting dreams about giggle houses for girls and boggle boxes for boys. He was becoming very tense now. Sophie could almost see the excitement bubbling inside him as he scurried back and forth among his beloved jars. There must have been 50,000 dreams altogether up there on the shelves, but he seemed to know almost exactly where every one of them was. Dreams about a little girl, he muttered, and dreams about me. Come on, hurry up, get on with it. Now, where are those? Where in the wonky world am I keeping those? Okay. And so it went on, and in about a half an hour, the BFG had found all the dreams he wanted and had tipped them into one huge jar. He put the jar on the table. Sophie sat watching him but said nothing. Inside the big jar, lying on the bottom of it, she could clearly see about 50 of those oval sea green jellyfish shapes, all pulsing gently in and out, some lying on top of others, but each one still a quite separate individual dream. Now he is mixing them, the BFG announced. He went to the cupboard where he kept his bottles of Frobscottle, and from it he took out a gigantic egg beater. It was one of those that has a handle which you turn, and down below there are a lot of overlapping blades that go whizzing around. He inserted the bottom end of this contraption into the big jar where the dreams are lying. Watch, he said. He started turning the handle very fast. Flashes of green and blue exploded inside the jar. The dreams are being whisked into a sea green froth. The poor thing, Sophie cried. They is not feeling it, the BFG said, as they turned the handle. Dreams is not like human beings or animals. They has no brains. They is made of zosimus. After about a minute, the BFG stopped whisking. The whole bottle was now full to the brim with large bubbles. They're almost exactly like the bubbles we ourselves blow from soapy water, except that these had even brighter and more beautiful colors swimming on their surfaces. Keep watching, the BFG said. Quite slowly, the topmost bubble rose up through the neck of the jar and floated away. A second one followed, then a third and a fourth. Soon the cave was filled with hundreds of beautifully colored bubbles, all drifting gently through the air. It was truly a wonderful sight. As Sophie watched them, they all started floating towards the cave entrance, which was still open. They're going out, Sophie whispered. Of course, the BFG said. Where to? Those is all little tiny dream bits that I isn't using. They is going back to the misty country to join up with proper dreams. It's all a bit beyond me, Sophie said. Dreams is full of mystery and magic, the BFG said. Do not try to understand them. Look in the big bottle, and you will now see the dream you was wanting for the queen. Sophie turned and stared into the great jar. On the bottom of it, something was thrashing about wildly, bouncing up and down and flinging itself against the walls of the jar. Good heavens, she cried. Is that it? That's it, the BFG said proudly. But it's horrible, Sophie cried. It's jumping about. It wants to get out. That's because it's a troggle humper, the BFG said. It's a nightmare. Oh, but I don't want to give the queen a nightmare, Sophie cried. She's dreaming about giants guzzling up little boys and girls, and what is you expecting it to be except a nightmare, said the BFG. Oh, no, cried Sophie. Oh, yes, the BFG said. A dream where you was seeing little chivlers being eaten is about the most frightsome troggle-humping dream you can get. It's a kixie boggle thumper. It's a wopsy grob switcher. It is all of them riddled into one. It is as bad as that dream I blew into the flesh slump eater this afternoon. It is worse. Sophie stared down at the fearful nightmare dream that was thrashing away in the huge glass jar. It was much larger than the others. It was about the size and shape of, shall we say, a turkey's egg. It was a jellyfish. It had tinges of bright scarlet deep inside it. There was something terrible about the way it was throwing itself against the sides of the jar. I don't want to give the queen a nightmare, Sophie said. I was thinking, the BFG said, that your queen will be happy to have a nightmare if having a nightmare is going to save a lot of human beings from being gobbled up by filthsome giants. Is that right, or is I left? I suppose you're right, Sophie said. It's got to be done. She'll soon be getting over it. the BFG said. Have you put all the other important things into it? Sophie asked. When I is blowing that dream into the queen's bedroom, the BFG said, she will be dreaming every single little thing-a-lading you was asking me to make her dream about. About me sitting on the windowsill? That part is very strong. And about a big friendly giant? I is putting in a nice long gobbet about him, the BFG said. As he spoke, he picked up one of the smaller jars and very quickly took the struggling, thrashing truckle humper out of the jar and into the small one. Then he screwed the lid tightly on the small jar. That's it, he announced. He's now ready. He fetched a suitcase and put the small jar into it. Why bother to take a great big suitcase when you've only got one jar, Sophie said. You could put the jar in your pocket. The BFG looked down at her and smiled. By goggles, he said, taking the jar out of the suitcase. Your head is not quite so full of grim sludge after all. I can see you was not born last week. Thank you, kind sir, Sophie said, making a little curtsy from the tabletop. And that is where we are gonna leave off. We have a few pages left of that chapter, and then they are ready to journey to England. So we will see what happens. But that is where we will leave off for today, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at office hours at 10 o'clock this morning, ready to practice for our Reader's Theater. Have a good morning, everyone, and see you soon.